recently I wrote down my 10 rules for money. You don't have to agree with all of them. Some of them might not apply, but just to see that this is the way I think about it. So I have some basic rules of thumb that help me make decisions. And one rule is I want to save 20 to 30% consistently, right? If I'm doing that, then whether I'm spending $3 or $5 on a coffee or cheesecake or whatever is irrelevant because I'm hitting my goals. Anytime I'm flying over a certain amount of time, business class. Okay, now I wasn't able to do that for a long time, but now I am, so I do it. Another one is marry the right person. Probably the most important financial rule, and yet we don't think about it. So like, how do we integrate relationships? And then one of my favorites...
Before you move on, define right person.
Well, that's for everyone. So I wanted to meet and marry someone who had a really good work ethic, who of course I loved, and would be a partner, like a team. And I think that marriage is, like my parents had an arranged marriage. Okay, so my dad flew back to India after studying here. He met my mom, 7 days later, they were married.
Wow.
Yeah. And they met, they had the chance to meet, but basically the way it worked, especially back then, was you meet, you get married, and then you fall in love. So what this has done for me is really, I grew up in America, but I have a lot of Indian culture around me. It made me realize that so much of what we assume is true in America is actually not. It's a cultural assumption. So in America, the assumption is you meet, you fall in love, and then you get married. But guess what? There's other cultures where it goes the opposite way. Marry and then fall in love. So that taught me that marriage is not just about the romance. That matters. Of course, you want to be attracted. You want to feel love towards your partner. But if you talk to anyone who's married, let's say 10 years, maybe they have kids, maybe not. Like, look at their text messages. They're not like, oh, love you, babe. Oh my God, you look so sexy today. They're like, did you pick up the milk? It's a partnership. And so what we don't talk about in America is that marriage is not just romance. It's also a team. And you're finding the ultimate teammate for life. Someone who you can trust, someone who challenges you. And so we need to build that into the way that we evaluate our potential partners. Can I trust this person, right? If they can't reach me on the phone, are they gonna do what needs to be done to keep things running? And are they gonna push me to be my best self? That's the kind of partner I wanted.
One thing that I loved is talking about the values around the money instead of just what are you spending the money on or how do you spend the money, but what are your values, and actually having that real core conversation.
It's a really tough one. And I have to admit that I violated my own rule with my wife, because she opened up her books to me, like the financial stuff. And then I forgot, hey, if she opens herself up financially, I should do the same. And I didn't. And so I think a year went by and she finally came to me. She's like, this isn't fair. Like, I've told you everything and I don't know anything about your finances. So we had that conversation. And then we have spent so much time talking about what money means to us. So I'll give you a couple of examples of what it means to us. And I have to say, like, we think about money differently, for sure. Any partnership will. We have different earning, we have different histories with money, different ways that we were raised. My wife, she wants money to make her feel safe. The word safe to me is like saying, like, I want money to make me feel applesauce. Like, I don't even connect the two. Like, I feel safe at a baseline. And I know that if everything went away, I could make money again. And I have my investments and all this stuff. I have my emergency fund. But what I needed to do in married life was to realize, like, my way is not the only way of looking at money. And in fact, talking to my wife, I've learned that there are totally different ways that are equally valid. But I had to kind of open my mind up to that, because I was like, oh, I know money and I know all this psychology stuff. No, I had to start from ground zero. The things we do agree on are, we made a list of our core values when we were planning our wedding. And at the top was, we want to make our friends and family feel warm and welcome. And our families come from like middle class backgrounds, and we wanted them to feel like, never feel put off. So, for us, the simplest things were the most meaningful. We found beautiful photos that we'd all taken together, and we left it in their room with a handwritten note. Nice. And like, that's what they remember. We brought our parents on our honeymoon for part of it. And we just said, like, show up at the airport and we will take care of the rest. And to create those memories of like being in Italy and doing a cooking class together, like that is like mine. That's the kind of stuff that to me, when I think about a rich life, that's what I think about. So finding a partner who was aligned on that was just like, oh my God, like it just feels like it just fits.
Yeah, that kind of thing is really, really important.
Yeah.
And initiating those conversations, I know that you have some pretty cool tactics around. I know you guys schedule time to discuss.
Yeah, every week. Touch base.
Walk us through that. That's unique and I think super powerful.
I think for anyone who's at work, if you are like really good at your job, or maybe you're managing people, you know what it takes to drive a number. You need to put time on the calendar. You need to have one-on-ones. You need to like manage a metric. And so we kind of intuitively do that, and then we go home and we're like, all right, like I'm just gonna sit back and like turn on Netflix and we'll eat dinner. And I have to say, my wife was the one who suggested that we do these touch bases. And we get together, we have a calendar, like a 1 hour block, and we put stuff on the agenda. And it sounds like, people are watching this, they're like, this guy's a serial killer. Like, but remember, your rich life is whatever you create. If you don't need to do it once a week, do it once every 2 weeks. But I think what we've discovered is creating a space for us to have these conversations about what's going well, what can we improve, what do we want to do for the next 3 months. Those kind of conversations is awesome. And on a very tactical level, we started off with a few core questions. Each time we're tweaking the questions to see what's really good. So one question is, what did you appreciate that I did last week? Start there. Start from a place of appreciation. What's something I can do better? And it's kind of opening ourselves up. So those are like little things. And it might be like, I don't like the sound of you biting your nails at home. Or like, can you please load the dishwasher differently? It could be as simple and practical as that. It can also be like, I really like when we go somewhere and you compliment me in front of other people. And like, if the people watching, thinking about it, think about what it means to you to have a space every week, every 2 weeks, every month, where you and your partner get to have these conversations. I would say it doesn't matter if it feels weird. There's so many things that people here feel are weird. Oh, it's weird to have a conversation like this. Well, I think it's weird to go 40 years and fight about iced tea instead of having the conversation.
Yeah, aggressively agree with that.
You need to know that when someone is saying like, you spend too much on that, it's not about that, it's one level up. It's about your values and how you were raised. And if you don't confront that, you will forever be playing whack-a-mole about a $3 expense when the real questions are like, how do I think about money?
So what rules do you have for new couples getting together, mix money, don't mix money, savings account, auto saving, is it start with a conversation? Is it actual write down our rules and our values? Like, imagine two people, they've been dating for 6 months, they decide to move in together. Now what?
Yeah. Well, first of all, if you ask people what are your money values, they have no idea. So I don't start with that question because everyone's values are like, yeah, I just like to spend on things I like. It's like, that's not a value. Okay, let's get more specific. For accounts, I believe a joint account and then separate individual accounts. And the individual accounts are like your money, do whatever you want with it, no questions asked. To get
prorated contributions
based on your income, you can contribute proportionally. But I'll say this, once we got married, like my fantasy was to build this just like amazing model that was like his money, her money, our money, just like all this flow and automation. And like Cass was not having it. She was like not interested in. I was like, the model, it's like so cool. And I like, again, I did this prototypically male thing. I was like, let's talk about like cell C4. Look at how it flows.
Sounds amazing.
It is amazing. Now it's amazing. But I had to start and say like, how do we think about money? Where should we prioritize? Like what's important to us? And so that was the conversation that I needed to like slow down. And at work, I have this concept, we use this concept, go slow to go fast. A lot of companies do this. I needed to slow way down. We eventually got to the model, but the model and the math was the last step. Once you get to the math, just like in negotiation, once you get to the dollar figure, that's like the last part. But the 85% of what does money mean to you? How did your mom and dad talk about money? You might discover, many couples, one partner earned all the money, the other did not. And so guess what? if you are the child of that relationship, you might have that belief and you might be resentful that you have to earn money or you don't. So that's a conversation to be had. And the way you can do that is you can say, you know, if we close our eyes and wave the magic wand and we didn't have any debt and it was our rich life 3 years from now, what does that look like? That's a great place to start, from a place of imagination. And now they have a context for why they're even talking about it. So again, rich life is all about starting from what your rich life is. And hey, maybe they can't go there this year. Maybe it's going to take them 2 years to save. But at least they wake up and they have a dream. That's important.
Yeah, I think that's wildly important. So talk to me about saving and debt. How should people think about saving first, debt first? Like, what does that look like?
So there's a mathematical answer, and then in my belief, there's the psychological answer. And I like psychology because psychology trumps math any day of the week. So if you have debt, let's just say you've got a student loan or maybe a credit card, your interest rates, maybe it's 4, 5, 6, or even 15%. Technically, if it's anything higher than like 8%, you should be paying that off as aggressively as possible. So if you've got credit card debt, you really want to prioritize that. But the psychological side is, I think it's really important to build the habit of where you want to go. So for example, let's just take the fitness example. If you don't have an hour to train every day, maybe you have 15 minutes. I think it's still worth doing it for 15 minutes. Because as your time opens up, it's much easier to go from 15 to 30 than 0 to 15. Yeah. So if you have debt and you want to save, I think that's great. You can do both. What I might do is I might look at my interest rate on my debt, and let's say that you've got $300 a month that you can use. I would probably put most of it towards the debt, depending on the interest rate, but I would definitely save $20, $50, $100 automatically. And I want to emphasize one thing for people. When a lot of people think about money, it's like, oh my God, there's all these accounts and 401k and annuity and all this stuff. I spend less than 1 hour per month on my money.
That's crazy.
That's how it should be. Money should be boring. It should not be dramatic. You should not be looking at all these TV shows and seeing, it's boring. It's calm, right? I say from hot to cool. Hot is like stuff on TV and oh my God, I feel stressed and embarrassed. What I want to do is take it from hot to cool. Cool is, do I want to go on vacation this year? Or is it worth it for me to buy this handbag or this jacket? Okay, it is or it's not, but I can make a cool decision. That's what I want people to do. So your money's automatically saved. It's also automatically paying off debt. It's automated to the point where you actually know the exact month and year your debt will be paid off. And that is such a relief.
Yeah, the whole FIRE lifestyle and tracking that stuff I find really interesting. And I've heard you talk about how FIRE can get a little
obsessive.
Sort of the financial version of an eating disorder where it's like you're a little too hardcore about it.
If you live in the spreadsheet, like, okay, this is a rarity. Most people don't spend any time on their money, which they should. But then you have this very tiny percentage of people who are borderline obsessed with it. And if you find yourself like waking up in the morning and logging into Excel and running another Monte Carlo simulation, you got a real problem. So really, once you set things up, a rich life is lived outside the spreadsheet. Like, this is a rich life. The fact that we get to meet and we get to talk and we get to help so many people. This is a rich life. A rich life can be going on vacation. A rich life can be eating at a restaurant or cooking at home. That is a rich life. And I can tell you, after you get your basics in order, a rich life is not on your computer screen or in a spreadsheet. A rich life is lived outside the spreadsheet.
All right. Where can people find you to get some help?
You can find me at iwillteachyoutoberich.com. Get on my newsletter. We send a ton of awesome stuff. Instagram and Twitter, I'm at Ramit. And you can find me all over the web. And my book, of course, I Will Teach You to Be Rich, at any bookstore.
Amazing, man. Yeah. What is driving you? What's the impact that you want to have on the world?
I want to help people really honestly create their rich life and to be unapologetic about it. And it can be as crazy, absurd, extravagant, philanthropic as you want. But I want every single person. My dream is that the people watching this, they read my book, and my email address is all over the book. My dream is that they come and they say, you know what? I used your book, I applied it, this is my rich life. And they just tell me.